we're going to turn to Ford's big announcement today about the huge amount of money the automaker's EV business has lost.
You lost 2.1 billion, I should say, last year. You're going to lose about $3 billion this year.
Ford Motor Company has just made what might be the most expensive miscalculation in its 120-year history. A $5 billion bet that's already unraveling before our eyes, threatening not just the company's future, but the entire American automotive landscape as we know it. What I'm about to show you isn't just another corporate misstep. This is a story about how one of America's most iconic companies may have just driven straight into a wall. And trust me, the impact will be felt by every single person watching this video, whether you own a Ford or not. If you've been thinking about buying a new car in the next few years, you'll want to pay very close attention to what I'm about to reveal. Because Ford's latest move isn't just affecting their bottom line, it's about to change everything about how you'll buy your next vehicle, and more importantly, how much you'll pay for it. Let's start at the beginning. It's 1903, and Henry Ford has just launched what would become America's automotive powerhouse. The Model T didn't just put America on wheels, it revolutionized manufacturing forever. Through the Great Depression, 2 world wars, the oil crisis of the 1970s, and even the 2008 financial meltdown, Ford always found a way to adapt and survive. Fast forward to 18 months ago. Ford was riding high on a wave of electric vehicle enthusiasm. The Mustang Mach-E was winning awards left and right. The F-150 Lightning had a wait list longer than a Black Friday line at Best Buy, and CEO Jim Farley was confidently promising investors that Ford would be producing 600,000 EVs annually by 2024, with plans to scale up to 2 million by 2026. The company went all in. They poured billions into new battery plants. They redesigned factories that had been building traditional vehicles for decades. They hired thousands of workers specialized in electric vehicle technology. Wall Street loved it. The press ate it up. It seemed like Ford had finally cracked the code on transitioning from gas guzzlers to the electric future. But here's where things went terribly wrong. What Ford didn't see coming, what almost no one saw coming, was the perfect storm that would hit the EV market in 2023. And now, they're stuck with what might be the most expensive overcorrection in automotive history. The numbers don't lie, and they tell a story that's keeping Ford executives up at night. EV sales growth has dropped to less than half of Ford's projections. The F-150 Lightning, sales down 50% in recent months. The Mach-E, dealers can't move them without massive discounts. Battery plant construction costs have skyrocketed past estimates. Worker training programs are costing millions with diminishing returns. But here's where it gets really interesting. And frankly, a bit scary for Ford shareholders and employees alike. Remember those massive battery plants Ford was building? The ones that were supposed to power their electric revolution? Well, they just announced they're scaling back production at their $5.8 billion Blue Oval SK battery plant in Kentucky. A facility that isn't even finished being built yet. Think about that for a second. Imagine building a massive house, getting halfway through construction, and then realizing you only need half the rooms you planned for. That's essentially what Ford did. Except, we're not talking about a house, we're talking about a $5.8 billion facility. That's enough money to build 4 NFL stadiums or send 10 missions to space. But wait, it gets worse. The real problem isn't just the money they've already spent. It's the ripple effects this miscalculation is having across their entire business. Let me break it down for you in a way that shows just how deep this crisis goes. First, there's the workforce issue. Ford hired thousands of workers for their EV push. We're talking engineers, technicians, production specialists, people who uprooted their lives and moved their families to be part of Ford's electric future. Now, they're facing some tough decisions. We're already seeing layoffs at their electric vehicle division, with more likely to come. I spoke with a former Ford engineer, let's call him Mike to protect his identity, who shared some shocking insights about what's happening inside the company. "We were told this was the future," Mike said. "We were told to go all in on electric. Now, we're all wondering if we made the right choice coming here." Second, there's the dealer problem. And this is where things get really messy. Ford essentially forced their dealers to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars in EV infrastructure. Many took out loans to comply with Ford's requirements. They installed charging stations, bought specialized tools, trained their technicians, all for vehicles that aren't selling as expected. One dealer in Ohio, who asked to remain anonymous, told me they spent over $400,000 preparing for an electric future that hasn't materialized. "We can't even cover the interest payments on our loans," they admitted. And Ford? They just keep telling us to be patient. But here's the part that affects you directly, even if you've never owned a Ford in your life. Ford's massive investment in EVs wasn't made in a vacuum. They diverted resources, engineering talent, and research dollars away from their traditional vehicle lineup to make it happen. That means development of new conventional models was delayed or scaled back. Important updates to popular models were pushed back. Quality control resources were stretched thin. And now they're scrambling to correct course. But here's the thing about the auto industry. You can't just flip a switch and change direction. Vehicle development cycles take years. The decisions Ford made in 2021 and 2022 are locked in until at least 2025. That means we're going to be feeling the effects of this mistake for years to come. I spoke with 3 different automotive industry analysts for this video, and they all said the same thing. Ford's $5 billion mistake isn't just about the money they've already spent. It's about the opportunity cost of what they didn't do while pursuing their aggressive EV strategy. Let's talk about the leadership decisions that led to this point. CEO Jim Farley bet big on EVs. Really big. He restructured the entire company, splitting it into Ford Blue for traditional vehicles and Ford Model E for electric vehicles. It was a bold move that Wall Street initially loved. Farley was hailed as a visionary, a leader who wasn't afraid to make tough decisions. But now, those same Wall Street analysts are questioning everything. Ford's stock has been on a roller coaster ride, and not the fun kind. The company has lost billions in market value, and investors are starting to ask some very uncomfortable questions about the company's leadership. Think of it like this. Ford essentially bet the farm on EVs becoming mainstream faster than they have. They built the infrastructure for a future that hasn't arrived yet. And now, they're stuck paying the bill. A bill that gets bigger every single day. Meanwhile, their competitors took a more measured approach. Toyota, for instance, kept investing in hybrid technology alongside pure EVs. General Motors maintained more flexibility in their manufacturing footprint. Even Volkswagen, another early EV advocate, didn't go quite as all-in as Ford did. So, what happens next? Well, that's where things get really interesting. Ford has 3 possible paths forward, and none of them are particularly appealing. Stay the course and hope the EV market catches up to their investments, but that would mean burning through billions more in cash, possibly threatening the company's financial stability. Dramatically scale back their EV plans, but that would mean writing off billions in investments and potentially falling behind if the market suddenly shifts toward electric vehicles. Try to find a middle ground, but that might mean doing neither traditional vehicles nor EVs particularly well, potentially damaging their reputation in both markets. But here's what should really keep you up at night. Ford's mistake isn't happening in isolation. Their $5 billion miscalculation is sending ripples throughout the entire auto industry. Other manufacturers are watching and adjusting their plans. Suppliers are getting nervous. I've spoken with 3 major auto parts suppliers who are already scaling back their EV investments. Dealers are questioning their futures. And all of this uncertainty ultimately affects one person: you, the consumer. If you're planning to buy a new car in the next few years, here's what Ford's mistake means for you. Expect fewer electric vehicle options than previously promised. Watch for desperate deals on existing EV inventory as manufacturers try to clear their lots. Prepare for potential quality issues as manufacturers rush to redirect resources. Look for hybrid vehicles to make a surprising comeback. Expect traditional gas-powered vehicles to stick around longer than expected. Be ready for more market confusion as manufacturers struggle to find their footing. But there's an even bigger picture here that we need to talk about. Ford's stumble isn't just about cars, it's about American manufacturing as a whole. When a company as big and influential as Ford makes a mistake this size, it affects everything from steel prices to job markets to international trade relations. Let's look at some numbers that might shock you. Ford's EV division is losing an estimated $60,000 per vehicle sold. The company has already invested over $50 billion in its electric future. Their market cap has dropped by billions since these problems began. Thousands of jobs are potentially at risk. Hundreds of suppliers are affected. Dozens of communities built around Ford facilities are facing uncertain futures. But perhaps the most concerning aspect of all this isn't what we know. It's what we don't know. The questions keeping industry experts awake at night: how many more job cuts are coming? Will Ford's traditional vehicle quality suffer as resources are stretched thin? Can the dealer network survive this transition? Will other manufacturers learn from Ford's mistake, or are they too far down the same path? What happens to American automotive leadership in the global market? Meanwhile, Chinese manufacturers are watching this unfold with great interest. They've been steadily building their EV capabilities, and Ford's stumble might just give them the opening they've been waiting for to enter the US market in force. This isn't just about Ford anymore. This is about the future of American manufacturing, about jobs, about our position in the global automotive industry. The stakes couldn't be higher. The next 12 months will be crucial for Ford. They're not just fighting for market share anymore. They're fighting for their future in an industry they helped create. This is a company that survived the Great Depression, 2 world wars, and the 2008 financial crisis. But this might be their biggest challenge yet. Will this $5 billion mistake be the beginning of the end for one of America's most iconic companies? Or will it serve as a wake-up call that leads to an even stronger Ford? The answer to that question won't just affect Ford. It will affect the entire automotive industry, and by extension, the entire American economy. Only time will tell. But one thing's for certain: the automotive industry will never be the same. If you found this analysis helpful, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to stay updated on the biggest stories in the automotive industry. Drop a comment below with your thoughts on Ford's situation. Will they recover, or is this the beginning of the end?